And perhaps a grown woman who named herself Whoopi should refrain from mocking a 4-year-old for the name his...
Somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising? Blackmail me with money? Go f*** yourself.
This show has allowed all kinds of people to come on. People we agree with, people we don't agree with.
It helps explain why the legacy media all says the same thing at the same time.
I've not been a fan of this man's. I don't like how he talks to us. I don't like how he talks to the nation.
All the sort of federal money going to media companies is what...
Elon Musk was sitting in his office, deep in thought, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the desk. He had just finished a meeting with his legal team, and a conversation that had started as a fleeting annoyance was quickly turning into something far more serious. This was not about a simple disagreement, not just an offhand remark or an online spat. No, this was something that had escalated, and it involved someone who had been a fixture in Hollywood for decades, Whoopi Goldberg. You see, it all started when Whoopi made some comments on her daytime talk show, The View. She was discussing Elon Musk's son, A-Xii, and made a few remarks that many viewers thought were funny. But it didn't take long for her words to get under Elon's skin. Insiders claimed that at first, Elon brushed it off as a casual comment, one of those things that happens when celebrities get a little too comfortable in the spotlight. However, as days passed,
A grown woman who named herself Whoopi should refrain from mocking a 4-year-old for the name his parents gave
I'm just looking at this video and it's so bizarre.
him. Yes, Whoopi picked that name for herself. She's actually Karen Elaine Johnson.
I don't know what else to say, but it is...
started to gnaw at him. Could her remarks be classified as defamation? Could they be considered harassment? And more importantly, should he just let it slide, or should he take action? Elon Musk isn't the type of billionaire who lets things slide, especially when it comes to his family. His legal team, a formidable army of sharp minds, was already on the case. The decision to pursue a lawsuit wasn't taken lightly. But the more they examined it, the clearer it became that Whoopi's comments about his son might not be something to just ignore. Her words, taken in context, could have crossed the line. And for Elon, family comes first. So, the legal machines went into full gear. Musk's lawyers were relentless. They filed the lawsuit, and the media storm began to churn. As the days turned into weeks, Whoopi tried to brush off the situation. She laughed it off, even dismissed it as a joke, a harmless comment made in jest. She never imagined that it would go this far. But as the media heat started to intensify and the lawsuit began to take shape, she was forced to rethink her position. Then came the View episode where Whoopi tried to backtrack. She attempted to smooth things over with her audience, explaining that she wasn't mocking Musk's son, X, but was simply confused by the name. It was an explanation that, on the surface, sounded reasonable. But those who had been following the saga closely knew that this wasn't a simple misunderstanding. It was too little, too late. The damage had already been done. Elon Musk wasn't the kind of person who would back down after making such a bold move. His team was already pushing ahead with the lawsuit for defamation and harassment, and the pressure was mounting. Whoopi might have thought she could laugh off the situation, but reality was quickly setting in. The media was all over it. Her colleagues at The View were beginning to feel the heat. Advertisers were getting skittish, and ABC executives were having closed-door meetings, trying to figure out how to handle the fallout. Whoopi was no longer just dealing with a personal feud. She was caught in the middle of a corporate crisis. On the day she walked into the courtroom, the weight of what was happening became even clearer. The judge wasn't going to let Whoopi off easy. Mocking a child, particularly one as young as Musk's son, on national television was not something to take lightly. The judge's words were firm, unyielding, as she was told to face the consequences of her actions. What happened next was something no one could have predicted. The judge sentenced Whoopi Goldberg to 2 years of probation. 2 years. Whoopi was told she would have to be on her best behavior, no slip-ups, no more controversies. On top of that, a huge fine was levied against her, one that sources claimed was in the millions, enough to make even someone with Whoopi's career pause and think. And as if that wasn't enough, the judge also ordered Whoopi to publicly apologize to both Elon Musk and his son. Not just a simple, "I'm sorry," but a full formal apology. She would have to stand in front of the world and admit her mistake. This was a big deal. The fallout was just beginning. For someone like Whoopi, a seasoned professional who had been in Hollywood for decades, this was a devastating blow. She had faced controversies before, weathered the storm many times, but this was different. The reality of her situation hit her as the judge finished reading the verdict. She looked stunned, her face betraying a mix of disbelief and embarrassment. She had expected a slap on the wrist, perhaps a fine, maybe even a brief suspension. But 2 years? She never saw this coming. Tears welled up in her eyes as she tried to explain herself one last time. She repeated that she never intended to offend anyone. It was just a joke. But the judge wasn't buying it. By the time Whoopi left the courtroom, the paparazzi were already waiting. Pictures of her walking out, head down, shoulders slumped, hit the media outlets. This was a far cry from the confident, charismatic Whoopi we were used to seeing.
All this sort of federal money going to media companies is what helps explain.
Elon Musk took his son X to a press conference. I did not name the...
Explain why the legacy media all says the same thing at the same time.
Somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising? Blackmail me with money? Go f*** yourself.
On The View. The next day, ABC made their move. Kim Godwin, the president of the network, issued a statement announcing that Whoopi would be suspended for 2 weeks. The decision was immediate. Godwin stated that while Whoopi had apologized, it was necessary for her to take time to reflect on the impact of her words. But as the dust began to settle, things got messy behind the scenes. ABC executives were now dealing with the fallout of the scandal. Advertisers were pulling out. Brands didn't want to be associated with a messy public feud, especially one involving a billionaire like Elon Musk. The executives were in full crisis mode. There were rumors that higher-ups at the network were having serious discussions about whether to suspend Whoopi for a longer period, or perhaps even fire her. The pressure was mounting from all sides, and no one seemed to know how to navigate this turbulent storm. Whoopi's co-hosts on The View were also caught in the crossfire. Joy Behar, who had always been one of Whoopi's closest allies, was strangely silent. She wasn't offering any public support, and the dynamic on the show shifted. There were whispers that Whoopi's contract was being reviewed. ABC was asking themselves whether keeping Whoopi around was worth the risk. By this point, it was clear that this wasn't just about a joke. This had spiraled into something much bigger. Fans and critics were voicing their opinions on social media, and the internet had made up its mind. There was no turning back. The backlash was intense. Some online commentators began calling for Whoopi to be fired, with others comparing her to a Karen in the worst sense of the word. It was as if the entire world was turning against her. She had become the target of online vitriol, and the pressure was mounting. The judgment from fans was swift and unforgiving. "If you weren't mocking the child, why did you laugh so hard?" they asked. "Why didn't you just apologize instead of brushing it off as a joke?" Even though the name, A-Xii might have sounded unusual to some, the internet wasn't having any of it. In the eyes of many, Whoopi had crossed a line. The fact that she herself had chosen a quirky name, Whoopi Goldberg, seemed to make her criticism of Musk's son feel hypocritical. Now the question loomed large. Could Whoopi survive this mess? She had weathered countless storms before, but this was different. This wasn't just an internet spat. This was a full-blown crisis that was shaking the foundations of her career. ABC was scrambling to figure out what to do, and many were wondering if they could afford to keep her around. Should they start searching for a replacement? Would they have to let her go? The situation was far from over, and the drama continued to unfold. Elon Musk, for all his eccentricities, was a force to be reckoned with. With his vast wealth, influence, and legal firepower, he had made it clear that he was not someone to be trifled with. And now, Whoopi Goldberg was caught in the middle of the storm. The question was, would this be the end of her career, or would she be able to weather the storm and rise above the fallout? As the weeks passed, fans and critics alike kept watching, waiting for the next twist in this bizarre and unexpected saga. Would Whoopi apologize again? Would Elon Musk show any sign of backing down? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. The world was watching, and this was far from over.